Good day, friends. It's Mikey GloveSave with his new St. Louis Blues hat. Isn't that bitchin'? And check out the shirt. I just got this in recently, too. Got a goalie mask on that sumbitch. You throw a goalie mask on any article of clothing, I'm going to throw that on my carcass. Anyway, we're coming off a very successful weekend. The picks that I gave out in Saturday's video were up just over a unit. However, Mikey GloveSave owes the disciples of GloveSave an apology, because when Mikey GloveSave went back to the personal bet slip of GloveSave, he found that he had two other bets in there that he forgot to give you on both of those hits. So Mikey GloveSave's up just a little bit more than you are, and I feel kind of bad about it, but then I actually rationalized with myself and I said, nobody watched the video anyway, so there's really nothing to feel bad about. On top of that, I also posted some price discrepancies that I found yesterday using my Pick Finder app, and I just bet the notably better prices on those ones that I found. And Mikey GloveSave, hold on, I got it right here. Mikey GloveSave went 13-5 on those, and he is up just over 6 units on just plain old price discrepancies. So maybe it's time you started paying a little bit of attention to your buddy Mikey GloveSave. Now, Mikey GloveSave doesn't blame any of you for not taking the time to watch his videos. He's one of thousands of individuals who do this on the internet machine. But I figured maybe one day somebody will just be doom scrolling and say, you know what, this guy with the big head, let's just see what the heck he has to say. And maybe they'll like me. Maybe they'll like my personality. Maybe they'll win a couple bets. But I figured if I could just help one person win some bets like some of these other individuals that I look up to have helped Mikey GloveSave, then Mikey GloveSave did his job, and it makes it all worth it. Now, Papa Emeritus has requested that he be in today's video, and he justified that request by stating that he could possibly help Mikey GloveSave get a few more views. So he threw him on top of a fat burner jug to increase visibility, and we'll see if this helps. This is a good fat burner, by the way. If you need one, I recommend it. So anyway, let's talk about a futures bet. You see, Mikey GloveSave recently screwed the pooch, and I'm going to tell you what happened. I was watching the LA Sparks play the Indiana Fever last week, and they were playing very well, the Sparks were, and Mikey GloveSave said, they're only 2 spots out of the playoffs behind the Washington Mystics, and they're kicking booty, and they're plus 130 to make the playoffs. I should probably take that. And then Mikey GloveSave talked himself out of it because he said, no, because you know what's going to happen. You're going to take it, then they're going to get hosed, and then you're going to be mad that you didn't take it. So they ended up beating the Fever, and then they ended up pounding the Connecticut Sun, as they should. The Sun is not a very good team. Then when they played the Valkyries pounded the shnikes out of them. And I said, see, Mikey GloveSave, good thing you didn't take that bet. But then the Sparks beat the Storm last night, and the Storm have the last playoff spot, and this actually moved up the Sparks to 1 spot out of the playoffs, and now they're minus 105 to make the playoffs, and Mikey GloveSave missed that window. But Mikey GloveSave is a determined individual. So instead of being rational GloveSave and saying, hey, you missed the window, just move on, Mikey GloveSave ain't going to do that. So this is what he did. He laid a unit on the minus 105 against his better judgment. Now, the Valkyries are playing the Sun tonight, and the Valkyries should win handily, which could affect the price of the Sparks. So, if after tonight the Sparks move back into plus money, Mikey GloveSave is going to throw another half unit on that sumbitch, but Mikey GloveSave ain't done there because the Sparks are playing the New York Liberty in second place and defending champions on Tuesday. The Sparks do have a chance of beating them. They actually, I think they did, hold on, let me see what my notes say here. Yeah, LA did beat the Liberty back on July 26th, and it looks like the Liberty will be without Breanna Stewart again, so the Sparks have a chance of winning, but if they don't, that means a better price for Mikey GloveSave, so I'm going to throw another half unit on that sumbitch. So we got a unit on the Sparks to make the playoffs, minus 105, which I shouldn't have done. And then, if the Valkyries win tonight and we get better pricing on the Sparks, I'm going to throw another half unit on that. And then if they lose to the Liberty on Tuesday, I'm going to throw another half unit on that so I could gladly throw away 2 full units. Now, we only have 1 game on tonight's slate, and Mikey GloveSave went through that. Hold on. We don't want to cover up the moneymaker here. This is what brings it in. Mikey GloveSave went through with a fine-tooth comb after slamming a couple energy drinks, and here's what he came up with. Tina Charles, point prop, over 13.5. Let's take a look at what she's done here. They've played Golden State twice so far this year. On June 9th, she only scored 9 points with Kayla Thornton in the lineup. And then on July 27th, without Kayla Thornton in the lineup, she scored 24 points. And you know who's not playing tonight? Kayla Thornton. Let's take a look at the hit rate here. 80% in the last 5 games. Now, the teams that were involved in those last 5 games with the New York Liberty twice. They're in second place and defending champions. LA Sparks, who have momentum, as I just mentioned, and the Phoenix Mercury, who are in 4th place. 70% hit rate in the last 10 versus Golden State, LA, and the Indiana Fever, and a 60% hit rate in the last 15. So she's scoring some hoop. Now, Golden State is first in preventing points against centers. That doesn't seem to matter lately. So I found her at even money. I took Tina Charles over 13.5 points plus 100 on DraftKings. Daddy also likes Veronica Burton's 3-point prop set at 1.5. She cleared this without any problem on June 22nd, last time they played Connecticut, but when they faced each other again on July 27th, she didn't even come close. Don't know what the circumstances are there, but I'm looking at her hit rates here. 80% hit rate in the last 5 games versus some pretty good teams, 60% in the last 10 and 67% in the last 15. Another thing that Daddy notices here is that she has a very good 3-point percentage here. Looking at the last 6 games, when she has cleared this, 5 out of the last 6 games, 3 attempts, 3 attempts, 3 attempts, 5 attempts, 3 attempts, and 5 attempts. Connecticut is 7th in defending 3-pointers versus guards and 5th in attempts, but she doesn't need a lot of attempts. So we got Veronica Burton plus 125 to go over 1.5 3-pointers. That price is on Caesars. All right, Papa E said that he's getting a little bored, so he's going to take a quick nap. Tiffany Hayes' point prop is set at 15.5. She's not been clearing this very much lately. Only a 20% hit rate in the last 5 games, 40% in the last 10, and 53 in the last 15. So then Daddy took a look at how she did against Connecticut earlier in the year. On June 22nd, she barely cleared this with 16 points, and Kayla Thornton was playing that game. On July 27th, she only had 6 points without Kayla Thornton. So Daddy said, Daddy went and looked back at her record overall without Kayla Thornton. She has a 33% hit rate from 40 in the last 10 games without Kayla Thornton, and it stays a 20% hit rate in the last 5 games because Kayla Thornton hasn't been playing. So you know what that tells me? If Tiffany Hayes is in there with Kayla Thornton, she has a better likelihood of clearing this line. And without Kayla Thornton, she has a very unlikelihood of clearing this line. So Daddy took Tiffany Hayes under 15.5 points plus 100 at BetMGM. Marina Mabry's point prop is set at 15.5. She hasn't done a very good job overall clearing this line so far this year. I know she had some injury stuff going on. She was out for a few games. Don't know what the circumstances were with that. She almost hit it last time these two teams played on July 27th, missing it by a half a point. She scored 15 points. But anyway, let's take a look at what she's done. Last 15 games, 40% hit rate. But, when Mikey GloveSave goes, he sees something. Last 5 games, 80% hit rate. And in those last 5 games, this was versus New York, LA, Las Vegas, and Pahonix. I know you normal people pronounce it Phoenix, but I call it Pahonix. Remember that old FedEx commercial when he says, I want to ship this first class to Pahonix, and the FedEx person didn't know what he was talking about? I've been calling it Pahonix ever since. Anyway, Golden State is 9th in preventing points to guards. And that tells me, with Marina Mabry heating up lately, she has a very good shot at clearing this line. But of course, Mikey GloveSave always thinks he's going to get hosed. And he noticed that some books had her at 14.5. So he did a little price shopping, and he found Marina Mabry over 14.5 points for minus 124 in FanDuel. What I did was I foolishly put a half unit on that, and then I found her at over 15.5 points, is what she's projected at here, at plus 105 on Fanatics. So I threw a half unit on that, which I'm pretty sure I cheated myself out of some value by doing that. But sometimes I just got to make myself feel good going into it, saying, if I get hosed, I still kind of came away with a little padding there. But I don't recommend you do what I did. But I think she has a good shot of clearing this line. Okay, homies. Mikey GloveSave thinks he may have found a gift here, unless he's missing something, which he probably is. But Bria Hartley's 3-point prop is set at 1.5. Let's take a look here. She cleared this back on June 22nd, hitting 2 out of 6 attempts with Kayla Thornton in the lineup. Then on July 27th, she made 4 out of 8 attempts without Kayla Thornton in the lineup. Kayla Thornton's not playing tonight. 60% hit rate in the last 5 games, 80% in the last 10, and 67 in the last 15. Golden State is 12th out of 13 teams in giving up three-pointers to guards, as well as 12th in giving up attempts to guards. So why is she at plus 120? I don't know, but I'm going to pay to find out. I got Bria Hartley over 1.5 three-pointers. Best price I found was plus 120 on DraftKings. And for my final play of the day, Janelle Salon, you owe Mikey GloveSave. You hosed him on Saturday, and you hosed his disciples who didn't even watch his video. Do you understand that Janelle Salon does not rebound much, and she does not hit a lot of three-pointers? However, on Saturday, she wanted to clear both of those lines to hose old Mikey GloveSave. Well, Mikey GloveSave ain't going anywhere. I wanted to get your under rebound prop, but it was juiced up to like 160, 170. But your under three-point prop is at minus 112 on FanDuel. So I took that. You owe me. I don't want you hitting 2 three-pointers today, and you shouldn't. Because the only time that you have gone back-to-back games hitting this line was in May when the season first started. You hit it 3 games in a row, and then there's gaps. And then there's 1 game, and then there's a bunch of gaps, and then there's 1 game. And then you hit it on Saturday. So you know what? We're due for a gap. Janelle Salon on the Mikey GloveSave Ego Bet of the day, under 1.5 three-pointers, minus 112 on FanDuel. Oh, but Mikey GloveSave, don't go yet. We'd love to know who you think's going to win tonight, you say. Well, I'll gladly tell you who, and I'm going to tell you why. Of course, I think it's going to be the Valkyries. First of all, they're a good team, and the Connecticut Sun is not a good team. Problem is, the line is set at minus 380, and this is where Mikey GloveSave struggles. Mikey GloveSave hates laying points. Every time Mikey GloveSave lays points, he gets hosed. But I think the Valkyries are going to win. But I hate laying points, and I don't think it's fair. It's hard enough to predict whether or not a team's going to win. Now you're telling me that I have to predict how much they're going to win by? We see upsets all the time. If you give me a plus point spread, I'm in. You're telling me a team could either lose by a certain amount or win? Sign daddy up. But I got to get past this laying the points thing. Now, the Valkyries should cover. I'm going to go over this with you. The line for the Connecticut Sun, Las Vegas Aces game last night was set at 11.5. Connecticut lost by 8. Now, the last time they covered 8.5 was on July 15th versus the Fever. The last time they covered 7.5 was July 13th versus the Sparks. The last time these two teams played, Connecticut got their booties whooped by 31 points. Connecticut's also on a back-to-back. They played in Vegas last night. They're going up to Golden State today. The Valkyries should just pummel these individuals. They should. And I should be comfortable with laying minus 7.5. But I'm struggling. I got to get by it. But anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might wait and see if I can get a better line live. But in the meantime, at least you know who I think is going to win. And that does it for today's episode of WNBA Bizettes with Mikey GloveSave. Before you tail, remember that sometimes tailing me is like going to a Motley Crue concert. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to my first Stanley Cup video. I'll explain it there. You're an adult. You can decide what you want to do. I'm telling you what I'm taking and why. I'm not telling you to tail anything, so don't get mad at me if they lose. This is Mikey GloveSave out.